Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another speed build, and today we are in the world of Tartosa, which came with the Sims 4 My Wedding Stories game pack. I believe it's a game pack. I don't think it's a stuff pack. Either way, we are here in Tartosa, and I thought it would be fun to use this inspiration image to kind of bring about a jewelry store and also a flower shop here on the island. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of other lots to build on in Tartosa that kind of fit like a storefront, because the other buildings that are stores are rabbit holes and they're not actual lots that you can, tear down and build your own thing on. That's kind of annoying. There's a lot of things about My Wedding Stories that are annoying, so I won't get into that here, but you'll see that I have picked out a very similar color scheme to the inspiration image, and I try to make this little window thing kind of work. I didn't want to do a double layer turret situation, so I just kind of replicated it with the roof, and then we went in with the terracotta roof tiles to kind of match the image a little bit. The only thing I did not include was a chimney, because what I ended up doing was adding a second building attached to this that ends up being the flower shop, but you'll see that very shortly when we get there. And if you like what you see during this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps me out and I really appreciate the support. Also, be sure to leave a comment if there's anything you see that you like, or if you have any suggestions for future videos, any other small businesses, small business residential lots, regular family homes, whatever you think, any kind of idea, I would love to hear it, because, I want to build what you want to see. Here you'll see we have taken away that inspiration image for now, because we are going to do our own thing over on this side. I just kind of built a big long rectangle. I didn't know what I was doing for the longest time, so I fiddled with it for a while, but I did add the freeze, or the separator between the floors from, I believe that came with Life and Death. I really enjoy that one. I think that it gave a similar kind of texture all around where the first floor meets the bottom floor, so I enjoyed that very much. And then I just kind of did like this weird roof thing where it's not really, I don't know, it's not like a Victorian style, but I tried to leave enough space for windows, but I also wanted it to look like a typical storefront in other images that I saw, which I did not include here because like I said, I mainly worked off the main image, and then the rest of the build I just kind of wung it and decided to see what I could do. And then I connected them with some more roof pieces. That whole side of the building ends up being very pink inside and out. Very flowery, very girly, very fun. And then the blue side is a little bit more on the blue and yellow with some like fancy little touches here and there. So I think that came across really, really well. And in the flower shop area, which we'll get to later, you'll see there's a space in the back with a bunch of empty flower arranging tables and also the whiteboard. So the Sim who lives here with her teen daughter can do classes on flower arranging, and they also have some display cases for selling bouquets and such, which I did get off the gallery. So you'll see little gallery pics kind of pop up, and I'll pull rooms and then add those items to like display cases. So I'll put the information about those creators from the gallery in the description box. So if you're curious, or if you want to grab those same items or similar items, you know where to look and you have some options, because there's so many things on the gallery and so many very, very kind people who put up full collections of jewelry and flowers and all kinds of stuff that I personally don't have time to create, because I barely get time to do this. And so I appreciate you guys sticking around, and I'm sorry for the inconsistency in videos. It's just, I gotta work and I gotta take care of my kids, and we have a house and stuff. So this is not exactly a main priority, but it is like my hobby and I very much enjoy it, and I enjoy making videos for you guys and for myself. It's just fun. So here you'll see I tried to put in some really fancy mirrors from Love Struck in the jewelry store section, because in a lot of inspiration images I saw on Pinterest from other jewelry stores, there's a lot of mirrors, lots of gold, lots of like filigree and all kinds of fancy things. So I tried to make this store kind of fancy, but also fit in with the environment of Tartosa. Right now it's marble flooring, and then I changed it to the herringbone wood floor because I thought that kind of warmed it up a little bit. I thought it was a little too cold and stuffy, and I wanted it to look nice. You'll also see I have some displays from Crystal Creations up on the wall. I didn't know what I wanted to do with those yet, but I threw them in there anyway. And then we're going to quickly jump, after we have the staircase put in, over here to the front facade of the flower shop. I put in these trellises from high school years, and I added some of these vining flowers that came with Get Together, and I just kind of patterned them all around. I tried to make them work and look like real trellises. I also doubled up on that big flower fountainy looking display that we got with, I believe, with my wedding stories out in the front, and I'm going to do more out in the front eventually, but here you'll see I'm making the little classroom space. And it took me a while to get the configuration just right. So I added a bunch of windows, which I believe came with either Romantic Garden or Get Together. Don't quote me on that. That moved really fast for me too. So, but out front we have a little display table from the Greenhouse Haven. I put that out here, and a bunch of little display bouquets and stuff, and then a little garden lantern that I think came with Perfect Patio or backyard stuff. Again, so many packs, so many kits, so many things. I can't remember where anything comes from anymore. It's actually very confusing. I did use the new counters that came with a recent base game update in this kind of stone texture, and I tried to have it match the other long countertop piece that isn't really a counter that came with Businesses and Hobbies, so you'll see that here. And then I play around with the swatches, and I also put a little cash register on a hidden island piece right in there so that it looks like that's a functional register. It is not in this case because it's not technically a retail store. It is classified as a small business residential. So we have the little laptop on a desk over there because I thought that was nice for the owner to be able to, order stuff and have access to a computer while they were working. And then the chairs from Dream Home Decorator. Playing around with the windows and just the placement of everything. I also really wanted those vine curtains that came with Greenhouse Haven, so I put those up right with the Desert Luxe curtains as well. I kind of paired them all together, and I think they look pretty nice there. It kind of gives the feeling of like kind of flowery, but also, a little bit more sophisticated and flowy and fun. So I hope that you agree, but we are going to be finishing up here with a little bit of a fake brick facade that I'm putting on the front of these desks. It is a debug or live edit item, and I just kind of used all placement to fit both of them together so that I could kind of hide this weird spot where the counter bases don't really match. And then I pulled out some of these pillars and I just lined them up ever so slightly so that they match and so that they kind of go together, and it worked out pretty well, I think. So kind of looks like it has a little bit of a brick half wall built into it, but it's not really a half wall. So, and it does not interfere with the use of the desk at all, which was very nice. Also added lots of flowers on the desk and lots of these little hanging planters that came with Nifty Knitting. Just again, for the vibes, just for the feel of a flower shop. Maybe those are items you can buy, even though you really can't because they're not on a display. But I also at first added this brick that came with either Cottage Living or the Country Kitchen kit, but I believe I ended up changing it to the pink gradient wallpaper that came with my wedding stories because I just wanted it to be pink. I don't know why. The pink felt right in this situation. And then there's also a little back area, but we are going to get to that. There has to be a garden, obviously. Upstairs here, we have the floor plan sort of kind of coming together. That little weird kind of L-shaped block is going to be the bathroom, and then we have 2 bedrooms up there. And then we're going to zoom back down here to the jewelry store because I'm picking out some pieces of jewelry from the Build By menu, Debug and Live Edit, but I don't think you can actually purchase these items. So I didn't want those to be, necessarily the big sellers here. But what I did was I ended up pulling out some from the gallery, and those are the ones that are actually put for sale. And also, I love this big display light. It's very luxurious. I don't remember where it came from, but it's right in front of the window, and it's so pretty, and it definitely gives jewelry store vibes. Here you'll see a little tiny collection I have pulled out. Again, I will put the name of all the creators that I used the collections from in the description box because I did use quite a few. And I also like to size up the necklaces just because they don't really do themselves justice when they are the normal size, and sizing them up just gives them a little bit more pop, I think, and they still look really nice and they don't pixelate at all, which is very unusual, but very, very good. So here's some more of those jewelry collections going in, and then I just fill everything up. I add more lights, also add some gemstones. I'm pulling a bunch of those out of the gallery. Again, I'll put all these names up so that you can see them. I'm going to have to slow the footage down and really pay attention. But we have all of these gemstones going on these display boxes that came with Businesses and Hobbies, and they mount to the wall. So I thought they looked really nice in here. Maybe your Sims can sell some cut gems as well, because you can do that with the Gemology table that came with Crystal Creations. And the owner of the shop does have a little jewelry making station upstairs so that she can make jewelry for the store and also cut gems. And I think she also probably outsources, because there's no way she can make all of this jewelry to constantly stock the store. We had lots of customers coming in buying up the jewelry. I had to keep pulling more off the gallery before I took screenshots, because there was just none left by the time I got done taking screenshots and taking live mode footage and playtesting. It was a whole lot of purchasing going on in here, which is a good thing. That is kind of what we want. But you'll see I added some fluffy rugs. There's also some wall decorations going in. These are from Life and Death, and I think they look so pretty up on the wall. Like they're just little fancy art pieces that are adorning the wallpaper. I think it really makes it pop. The wallpaper, by the way, is from the Cozy Bistro kit, and I thought it looked really nice in here, and I think it pairs well with those wall decorations. Changing the lights, though, to these ones from Love Struck, and then adding some more wall lanterns from Life and Death, because I thought that was nice. You'll also see a little bit later, I'm not sure when, but I end up putting a bathroom down here right near where the stairs are, kind of cut in from the jewelry store, because customers needed a bathroom and I always forget the bathroom. So I did leave a little bit of space there, but I forgot about it until later on. And now we are in the flower shop. You'll see I'm doing a similar thing with the gallery flowers that I pulled off, and I'm just dragging them over to the display case over here. Technically, these are supposed to be refrigerated display cases, so hopefully the bouquets will stay good for a long time. I'm sure you can also do that with flower arrangements as well, but I thought the bouquets looked nicer, at least for screenshots and vibes. But for functionality, you can definitely just make regular flower arrangements. They don't have to be bouquets. And then over here in the little classroom section, adding a few more lanterns from Life and Death again, because they're just pretty. And then some rugs that came with high school years in this very neutral tone. And then the hanging chandeliers are also from Life and Death, I believe. Some more flowers over here in the corner. We have some birds of paradise. We have the plant from Paranormal Stuff. And then we have this lovely enormous tree that came with Businesses and Hobbies. I love it. And also a little selection of flowers in that like tin can kind of thing. I don't know why. I was trying to hide this little seam from the building next door, because for some reason where the walls meet, there's a little seam, and it was driving me nuts. So I used some of those flower like wall art decorations up there. And then there's also a very large painting that came with Love Struck, and then this little painting from the Bella Goth kit, and some more wall plants, just trying to fill up the wall a little bit, make it more interesting. I also didn't want it to be too busy, because I didn't want it to be obnoxious. But we are upstairs in the apartment now, and we're making our little kitchen. Obviously, I had to use the new countertops that came with a recent base game update, and the matching upper head counters. And I went with this green just because it kind of resembled like a jewel tone, and I didn't want it to be too dark up here. I wanted it to be really bright and also kind of match the interior of the windows, because they are green. I thought it would make sense if the rest of the kitchen had a green undertone to it. And then I love this table that came with Businesses and Hobbies. It's very simple. The chairs, I believe, came with Love Struck, and I think that's a very nice tone of green as well, so it kind of blends in. We also have a little archway that leads into where the Gemology table is going to go. And then back here we have 2 bedrooms, and then, like I said, that little L-shaped room is going to be a bathroom later on. And I'm using a lot of windows from the Strangerville expansion pack on the pink building, because I thought that really looked nice. We have our basic bathroom furniture in. Now we're going to be in the living room, and I pulled out the little cubie organizer from Little Simsy's Comfy Gamer Kit in there, and I believe the couch is from Growing Together, and obviously the frame TV. And then in the kids' bedroom there is the bed from, I believe that one is from Horse Ranch, and then in the mom's room is from Love Struck. But now we're going to jump outside because we're going to do a lot of landscaping, and I'm just throwing in a bunch of flowers that I think work together, mostly Debug and Live Edit, because I thought that they just worked well together, and there's a lot more selection if you have Debug and Live Edit available to you. So I do know those cheats, but I also have better build by, so I'm cheating with that. Basically, it makes it a lot easier for me. But up here we have the gemology table going in and a little oil lamp up on the desk, which also came with Crystal Creations. And then we have the bathroom window, which is the same as the little dormer window that I have upstairs in the unusable third floor. And then over here we have a little plant going in next to the gemology table. I didn't want it to feel too cramped, even though it is kind of cramped, it's like all shoved in a corner. So I did try to give it a little bit of space, and I wanted to use some crystal and gem posters over here as like a little guide for when she's making the jewelry and cutting the gems, that she knows like which metals go together and what gems have what abilities, that kind of thing. So we are going to be doing the transition here between the kitchen and the rest of the space. I did throw in some more columns. Those are the new Happy Birthday base game columns that match the rest of the kitchen really nicely. Again, the green tones. And then I wanted to kind of offset it with some pink, because pink and green go together very well. So that is what's going on in this living room. And then the book nook rug, we have the seasons lamp on the little end table that came with businesses and hobbies. And now we're going to jump in the kitchen. I did use the cats and dogs hanging light, which I enjoy and I don't normally get to use, so I'm glad I got to use that. Also put a little strip light, little LED strip light from high school years up against or right behind the hood fan above the stove, because I thought it lit up that area really nicely, and it kind of made sense that it would be underlit. I know that a lot of the fans above stoves have lights under them, so it just looked really nice to me. And then just adding some kitchen clutter and also a little pressure cooker, and we have some spices hanging on the wall to maximize countertop space that you would need for cooking. We also have some lemons in the corner and some plates. We have some knives hanging on the wall, and I also think I add the cutting board that came with Cool Kitchen stuff as well, because again, I just love that little collection. I think it all looks so nice together. Over here by the window we have our sink, so we have our dish rack from For Rent, and I added this lovely little curtain that came with Growing Together in this green swatch. I just used Tool Mod to move it up ever so slightly. And then the Modern Luxe curtains I thought worked really well in here. I just sized them down with Tool Mod again so that they would fit and not poke through the bottom floor, because I learned my lesson with that and it is not fun to have to figure that out later on, so I just did it preemptively. And I love that it comes with the separating rods that you can add wherever you want. Over by the TV, we just have some cluttery stuff going in here. So I have some comfy gamer stuff, Crystal Creations, Growing Together stuff. I think I have some Dream Home Decorator stuff in here as well. There's some books that you can pull from, and I did have to all place those and also use Tool Mod to get them in that bottom cube. I didn't fill every single cube because I think that would have taken me way too long. But I did add some greeting cards on top of here, and then also the little mess of stuff that the gemologist has, I guess, because that makes sense to me. A little light in the corner from Crystal Creations to brighten up that space a little bit. And then in the bathroom, again, we went with a very green theme here, and we have the Love Struck mirror. We have the green herringbone tile floor from, or I guess it's like a bluish green, from the Growing Together pack, as well as the wallpaper. And then we have our bathroom clutter stuff going in. We have the plunger toilet paper roll, the soap pump, and the toothpaste cup and toothbrush cup on the sink. So all very standard. Obviously we have some towels in here, and then I think I add my other favorite little bathroom accessory, this Parenthood bathroom pantry cabinet kind of thing. I just love how it looks in bathrooms. It's very easy to go to that, especially because it has like a little crystal knob on it. And then I added some little hanging hand towels on the wall from Get Together, which I forget about very often because I can't find them right away in the catalog. But I really enjoy those for bathrooms. Mom's room is very, very simple. I did use one of the rugs from the new Businesses and Hobbies pack in this kind of neutral tone, and then the end tables are from Growing Together with the mirrored top, and the lamps are from For Rent. The bed is from Life and Death as well. I don't know if I said that already. And then I tried to make the dresser be the matching tone of the bed, this lovely jewel-toned darker green. And then the mirror is from Lovestruck again. All the Lovestruck mirrors were so nice. I do wish this one placed a little lower on the wall, but so I did have to use Tool Mod to make sure it was the right height. And then I pulled out some jewelry clutter and some makeup clutter, and I believe I also pull out just a little tiny light and also a plant to kind of fill up the space on the dresser. I don't like empty dressers because in my mind it should be cluttered with stuff, although I'm not sure if that's very accurate. We also have a hanging wall plant that came with Businesses and Hobbies, and then this light that I think came with Cozy Bistro kit. And I wanted to have more lighting in this room without it being obnoxious. We also have a computer desk. Maybe this is like her little home office just in her bedroom. It's very secluded from the rest of the room. Now, these curtains from Cats and Dogs, I love them, and I wish that they placed lower. So again, I did have to use Tool Mod for this. I sized them down and lowered them, but the color tones work so well with the rest of the room, so I just had to do it. Here we are in the teens room. Again, we have that bed from Horse Ranch. The end table is from Parenthood, and then we have the new lamp that came with Businesses and Hobbies. It's the Kitsugi lamp. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's when you break the pottery and you put it back together with like the gold filling in the cracks. I thought that was a nice little touch. And then of course we have the matching Parenthood dresser, the other mirror from Lovestruck that has all the pictures on it. There's a little candle tray with some books on it, and then the rug from High School Years as well. And we're downstairs working on the little itty bitty bathroom in here. Now this is just for customers. I did throw a shower in here, and I did continue the green theme with a very fancy wallpaper that came with High School Years. You'll see a very gaudy green and tan shower. That is because a lot of the customers end up coming here and they're just already stinky. So I figured giving them a space to be able to clean themselves up would be nice for them and for you, so you don't have to deal with unpleasant customers and people who are grumpy because there are other smelly customers around. So we just have a very standard public bathroom. I also put some paper towels on the wall because I thought that made sense, and then a little tiny waste bin underneath it, and this little medicine cabinet behind the toilet, and of course some extra rolls of toilet paper, and just my standard bathroom light. Now we're going to move the whole lot over though, because I realized that I wanted to add a little covered area over here off to the side and make like my own little kind of pergola thing, and that is kind of a walkway to get to the back of the lot where there is a garden for growing flowers and such. So I added some vines to the wall. A lot of them are from My Wedding Stories and Cottage Living, and I believe some of them may be from University, but don't quote me on that. So I did try to kind of fill up this upper pergola thing with a bunch of those low-lying plants. I think I also add a back pergola space, and I throw in the little glass roof pieces inside of that later on, but I did it off camera, and I didn't mean to do it off camera, but I did. So you'll see that in the screenshots, but the garden is completely covered. That way the plants will always be growing and they won't be out of season, which is a lot more handy when you're in a business like this where you just constantly need flowers. Then you just always have them handy to you. You don't have to spend money on them. So I thought that would be a nice little thing to have. I talked through most of the teens room, but there's a lot of decorations on the wall. There's a little jewelry box on the dresser, and we also have a laundry basket with some unfolded clothes on top of the laundry basket, also adding a jewelry box in Mom's room, as well as some more wall plants. And then over here in the upstairs like hallway into the rest of the home, we have a bookshelf and this cozy little chair from Lovestruck, and I kind of just squoze them in here. I didn't mind that the wallpaper was showing through the back of the bookshelf, so I kept it that way on purpose. And then we use the curtains from the movie Hangout stuff in this very neutral kind of beige tone on these windows in here. And then to finish up the living room, we have a console table that came with Crystal Creations. We are repeating that same lamp from Seasons, and then we have the Cozy Kitsch flower arrangement with the little vase, and it took me forever to figure out what else was going to go on this table. So first I pulled out the blanket basket from Eco Lifestyle, and then I decided on the tray with a book from the book nook kit. And now we're working on some terrain paint. So here's our little pathway to the backyard where the garden is. And I did pull out a bunch of different flowers from the Build By catalog using the Better Build By selection of the debug content, so that our sim could plant a lot of flowers. So if you download this lot, there will already be a lot of flowers planted here that you can use to make flower arrangements, and that are used for scenting to get different kinds of, auras and moods out of your sims. So I thought that would be good to have combined with the auras that the charged crystals give off of when you make jewelry. I don't think I showed that I put the charging plate on the slot, but I did put the charging plate for the jewelry and the gems on the slot as well. And I just put it in the backyard, but when my sim isn't using it, I drag it to her inventory, because that way nobody can steal the gems and jewelry off of the charging plate. Hopefully they won't do that for you, because I don't remember the last time it happened to me, but I'm paranoid about it. So that is why I always put it in my Sims inventory. Now you'll see a little bit more landscaping and terrain paint. I tried to just kind of make it all flow together. I didn't do too much on the side of the pink building, because honestly, it wasn't that important to me. What was important to me was the functionality and to make sure it was nice and well lit, and it had a trash can, it had a mailbox, it had a bathroom for the customers, and all of the signage looked really nice and intentional. So here you'll see a little house number going over here near where the residence stairs are, and then I pulled out this blank sign from Cats and Dogs, and I used Toolmod to adjust the little symbols that came with businesses and hobbies, and I put those on this sign. One has a wedding band and the other one has like a little leaf picture on it, and I just thought that it looked really nice. Those did keep disappearing though, I have to be honest. So here is a little bit of live mode footage of the final product of the outside of the shops on the island, and here's our inspiration image one more time in case you were wondering. I think we did a pretty good job. I also did add a ticket kiosk, so there is an entry fee here because, we got to make those simoleons to pay off these lovely buildings. But it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of Sims coming in. They wanted to take the classes. They wanted to browse and buy the jewelry and the flowers. And my Sims did a really good job. I think that the teen going to school was a little annoying because she couldn't be there to work all day. So she mostly worked after school. But it did work out really nicely. And I hope you enjoyed it. So if you did, please be sure to like and subscribe, like I said, and let me know in the comments what you'd like to see in the future, because I am always open to your ideas and your suggestions, and I love hearing from you. Also, little side note, go to Little Simsy's Twitch page. She's doing her St. Jude fundraiser for the month of May. All right, thanks guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.